This is Clint Riddle with the Booge Crew. Booge? Hey, welcome to the Booge Crew podcast. This is Clint Riddle. This video you're about to watch is a production from our shared pedagogy, opinions, and bad habits. The Booge Crew is an art and art teacher podcast. The Booge Crew is made up of 4 high school art teachers that work at the same school and meet in the Booge every morning. The term Booge came about when a cold gray teacher's lounge was converted into a warm, safe meeting place for teachers to relax and air out any frustrations, concerns, or celebrations. We discuss various topics, trends, and share differing opinions. We upload content weekly intended for our students, peers, and, well, you. Our goal is to challenge each other and you in your understanding of art. If you do like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, or even better, share it on one of your preferred social medias? On one of your preferred, I don't know who wrote this, on whatever it is that you use. Just go ahead and share it on that. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Even if you don't like it, that's part of the deal. Thanks so much. Enjoy.
Hi, kid.
Hi, everyone. Welcome for joining us. What is that? Wow. Let's put that in there.
Guys, this is your last time you have to listen to us by force. Kind of.
Hey-o.
Let's be in reality here. And we're gonna make this one as quick as possible since you guys do not like how long these videos are, but we are so impressed with how much you guys were able to accomplish learning from home, and we really missed you guys a ton. We kind of talked about it before we started recording every day that it's not the same feeling as being a teacher unless you have students to teach. And the notes and stuff on Google Classroom are great, but until we get to see you in person, it's just not going to be the same.
Yeah, I find myself doing weird things at home, trying to feel like I'm contributing, like gardening. That's not good. Carpentry, no.
I feel like the creepiest person in the world. I feel like anytime there's a teenager near me, I'm like trying to slowly.
Hey,
you want
to learn something?
Yeah. I'm like, what? How can I interact with you a little bit?
Just come over. I've got heaps of them.
Yeah. True story. So you guys sent us your photos last week of some art pieces that you would like for us to get a little bit of critique on or some comments on. Some of you asked specific kind of questions that you needed help with, and some of you just submitted a photo. So we're just going to go through them as quick as possible. Ms. Riddle, do you want to pick the first? Want to talk about?
Why, certainly.
This is a mix of Art 1 students all the way through advanced levels. Just if you're not.
I didn't extend it to my upper level kids.
What?
That's cool.
Wow, cool.
Well, they're all trying to get their AP portfolio ready for submissions, so I was like, make sure that gets done.
They got stuff going on, yeah.
All right, you want to start with, what do we want to start with, guys?
Just, you're in charge. You're the boss.
I am immediately drawn to this one.
Okay, perfect.
This is awesome.
So I put 2 on. Can you go to the one previous?
But we're not. I thought I was in charge.
Okay, you're in charge. But I was just going to say, how do you guys feel about copying?
I think for the time being,
I say at any and all times, it's awesome. And here's what I feel like. As long as you're making something, and as long as you're intentional in your practice, copying is part of what we do. I mean, even if you're looking at reality, you're copying. You're copying reality, you're transmuting it through your own personality. But I think if you enjoy it, and if you want to have something to hang on your wall, then do Baby Yoda and do Dwight with the weird mask. I love it. I think it's great. So by all means, make art you enjoy, that you want to hang up and look at, and just keep working, keep practicing. I love it. That's why I chose those 2, because I wanted to specifically say that.
nice.
Copy away. There's nothing wrong with copying.
I honestly, I think there are times when I copy and I start to feel guilty, like all I've been doing is copying. And then that's when I sort of force myself to I don't know if be creative is the right word. To try something new. Is that?
On the same subject, can I talk? I have a specific piece of mind that kind of has to deal with this.
No.
Okay, Clint, can you go back to the main screen?
The main screen? I think.
Like go
What
that view,
piece do you
that one
want?
right there. Okay, this is a Draw 2 student of mine. And I know that she struggled because we collaged different pieces of different landscapes, and then they worked with, this was like their Prisma, learning how to work with Prisma project. So this is a cool piece because you can flip the whole thing upside down, and that what she has is this, looks like the sky right now is a mountain range on the bottom too that had a sunset on them. So there's no up or down of this photo, but she didn't like towards the end that it looked like a collage, especially those straight edges down from like the gallery. I mean what am I trying to say? Galaxy, like waterfall. So it was kind of one of those things where how much should be a copy and how much should be inventing on here. So
I was the first thing I thought was I can tell that this is from a magazine, and that that's honestly the first thing I thought. And I thought, especially here, this really strict rectangular piece, and here
we can't see where you're pointing. Sorry.
Yeah, you
can't
see
like here and here and
right
here.
Yeah, that rectangular piece in the center of the image is too rectangular, and I understand what the artist is saying as well. Like, this would have been a good time to blend the copy, like use it as a reference, but not a strict copy, and to make those choices.
Yeah.
I think that would have maybe elevated it, especially the awkward edge. Right now at the top of the rectangular is a bit awkward, but the shading, you know, in the this is Prismacolor, and the burnishing and the blending is all so well done. So
yeah, and I love the idea. Like, it was cool that she made it a piece that could be flipped, and I liked her use of color in there. But yeah, I think I should have guided her a little bit more in trying to blend the two edge. I think I was talking to her a lot when she had now the sky in that top of the mountain range, and I was like, oh, this is cool, it's fitting together. And then she got started on the galaxy part, and I kind of let her go because it was so good. So I think that one was I think that's a t-shirt error. I should have jumped in with you. But it's a great piece.
Oh, it is a great piece. Do you guys follow David Chaffetz on Instagram?
Nope.
He's super good. If you haven't checked him out, you should check him out. He does Academy stuff for No Wave as well. So he has videos on introduction to oil painting and the still life. But he posted something a couple weeks ago about reference images and how there's nothing wrong with reference images. They're great. It's not bad to use photographs, but you don't have to be a slave to the reference image. It is the tool, just like any other tool in your kit. And there were tons of people who were commenting, and they were kind of like, oh, I think you should have left the moon in. And he's like, he was kind of savage, but in the nicest way possible. He's like, that's a street light. And so somebody else said, I don't really like reference images. He's like, until I had the skill to use them, I had the same opinion as you. Anyway, I agree with you. There's room for deviation from your reference, especially at the service of your artwork. But great image.
I find too that I have come across artists or people or students who have said, I like drawing from my imagination, and I see their imagery and I'm like, yeah, but you should probably practice and get good at the other stuff first.
Real quick, Google Proco draw from imagination. Have you guys seen his when he draws from imagination? It's like a meme. It was so bad. And he's super, super good. But it's like this weird alien crab baby. It's in that thumbnail there for the video. Draws a kangaroo from imagination.
Alien crab baby, new band name, I call it.
It's not going to be on here. Go back out.
I'm gone.
Do you see right there underneath that? The little orange thing is what he drew.
Is that school appropriate even?
What is
Nobody knows what it is. People just make it all over the place. I love it. And he
that is a thing that drives me a little bit nuts about being an artsy person, is that people expect you to pull stuff out of your head like crazy. And everyone's always like, hey, can you draw a bear real quick? And I'm like, not really. And then they're like, oh man, she's an art teacher. And I'm like, I'm sorry for this bear that looks like it was vomited out of my brain, but there's no,
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Unless you've got lots of practice drawing bears for some
Yes,
reason.
absolutely. We talk about that in my classes all the time. It's like a filing cabinet. And if you don't ever put anything in that file, when you go pull the drawer, there's nothing in there if you haven't, worked and memorized. So
That's hard to explain to other people. Like, sorry for your bear.
sorry for your bear.
Even when I'm drawing with my kid and I'm like, we're drawing pictures of stuff and someone will be like, let's draw an elephant family. And I'll draw it and I'm like, oh my God, he probably thinks I'm kidding about being an art teacher, but it's all a joke.
All right, Jody, ladies first, you're next.
Okay, I have two in here. One is, since we just did a landscape type of piece, let's go to the Celtics player there. Speaking of drawing, copying imagery. This student, we were working with mixed media, we were working with colored pencils, and he wanted to know how he could make it more realistic. So I think we ran out of time on this one.
Can I answer that?
So yeah, go ahead.
So I really like the mixed media approach, and what's interesting about this is the green and white, the interplay between figure and ground, and I think that's a good thing. But I think sometimes you may need to disrupt those two things. So using a more opaque media to make the figure not as integrated into the background. That may be one thing that creates a greater focal point. So that's one thing I would say. But if you back out real quick, I'll just use another image to reference this image. Click on the apple. So you can see here that the apple is trying hard to have in the top left there a little highlight, and then transitional values in the bottom right, a shadow, a core shadow. So if you go back to the Celtics player, what you're going to see is on the forearm, there's an indication of a split in value, but there's no soft edge and there's no contrast to value. There's no separation. When you get to the lips, they're just pale white. So if you want to increase naturalism, eliminate the outline, have softer edges to indicate rounding of form, and have more of a transition from light to dark to create greater volume. And then it'll look more naturalistic.
So art one, he means use dark, use really darker values in there. Not just the two greens that you see, but a wider range, like a really dark, a really dark, like a black on top, or a cool, really dark color to have more.
Yeah.
An array of value would be great. But I like leaving the jersey white because I think it's cool how you can see the background through it. And I have to say one thing, this student came to me at the beginning of my class, I can't draw. And I remember him being not super into it, but this is actually a really great piece from him. And I'm really proud of him for this piece. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a good example of what you can do just when you work hard and you try, even if you think you're not good, your stuff turns out good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did this student do it while we were still in class?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was the last project in my class.
So was the background their idea?
I presented them a bunch of different ways to create a abstract watercolor background, and I told them to think about the image that they're going to put on top and the energy and flow and how they're going to match it. And so I felt like this was a really great choice.
Yeah. Right on.
It reminds me of Chris Brown sports art. If this guy is a sports guy, they should check out Chris Brown sports art because he's got kind of that abstract background. And
He's another art teacher in our district.
Yeah, he works in Prisma, and he does sort of the same background type thing, but
it's not the Chris Brown you all listen to. Anya AirPods.
Oh,
on your Walkman.
They don't know what that is.
So cool, the other one.
I think he's dead, isn't he?
Think he's dead? Did you just say that?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know. That's terrible. I shouldn't say
He's
that.
not. I think it was because he beat up Rihanna.
I like.
Oh wait, sorry. Go, Jody.
Oh, who's next?
Clint.
Oh, it's me? Ooh. Let's see.
Can I point something out before we pick somebody?
Yeah.
Because we're looking at the image, where did I go wrong? But we're looking at it in thumbnail view. And in painting, I talk a lot about 2 steps to improving your. Well, go back. You're ruining everything.
Go back to the thumbnail view. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 things I talk about all the time, and I don't know if I'll see if I can find the meme. I found a new meme that Sarah Sedgwick posted on her Instagram. Hilarious. But we talk about squinting because you can see values better when you look through partially closed eyes, and stepping back from your work. And looking at a thumbnail is a lot like that. If you look at the thumbnail, a lot of the detail that you were working on when you were drawing is gone. It's reduced down. It's smaller. And you can see in that thumbnail view immediately how much smaller in width the drawn head is than the reference image head. And so where you went wrong is you smashed that sucker in.
Yeah, I bet if the artist is watching this podcast and they can see their image right next to one another like we can, they immediately are like, oh wait, now I see what I did wrong
Yeah.
more clearly.
I will
do the
what-
squinty eye thing because there's like a pretty obvious change in value, and it also is throwing the whole thing off to not have that. It's the on our left shoulder kind of filled in. I know like you want to focus on the face and forget the shirt, but then it kind of like doesn't put the rest of the piece in value. Like you want to darken his hair because we're right now seeing too much light through it.
Yeah.
Okay, Clint, I hijacked. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I do the phone thing a lot when I'm working. Not the phone. I take pictures of my artwork with my phone, and then if I'm working from a reference photo, I will I'll put them right next to each other and just flip back and forth, and try to see.
You can also do this phone thing. You reminded me of. This is called the Lorraine glass. So when you look at a black reflection, it simplifies value as well. You can't really see it on a video, but you could use that if you're looking at your work. If you turn around and stare at it in the off screen of your phone, you will see a drastically reduced value contrast of the image you're viewing.
Probably a
There's
good general rule. Step back from your work. Always squint at it. Always compare back and forth to your reference.
Fresh eyes. That's what they call it in the industry. Fresh eyes. Put fresh eyes on it.
Is that what they call it?
That's what one artist has said.
I like it.
Sorry, Clint, I hijacked your turn.
It's all
What a
good.
jerk.
Since I am a digital art teacher, I'm going to put the digital art on. This is from a student who's been world building, and this is his main character on this poster, and this character has become sort of like a leader within its own world. And so,
I love it. I think it's cool. Like the layout's cool, and I think it's super interesting. The only thing I would say on there is that I have a hard time telling if that's the head or if that's something in front of the head. If he's holding something up in front of him, or if that's part of the character. So I don't know what that would fix. A shadow or something underneath, or some sort of continuity between
I see.
the TV head and the body. If that's a head, or if there's something over the head.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? That's my only input.
Something I appreciated about this was the playing with the type. It's sort of,
Yeah.
I think it kind of caters to the world. I don't know if he made his own type. I don't think he made his own type. I think he probably found this one, but it's pretty I think it complements the concept.
Yeah.
Any thought?
Yeah, I would want to ask the artist, again, the question of intent. Is this like a propaganda kind of poster? Because this is like the Automagod. And if that's the case, then the real static nature of everything being placed horizontal, vertical, and central with a strong alignment of everything, maybe a good choice. But I think even in and you hate to say this, but good propaganda, like Mao, Stalin, Hitler, they relied on dynamism to get people fired up. So even though this is very static, you might consider adding a diagonal or something, add a little bit more dynamic nature to this to stress that point.
I forget what I was
like,
watching. Oh, I was thinking about this the other day. I watch a great TV show that all you kids should watch called The West Wing. And it's all about presidents, but they're showing people running, and the director took this angle of someone making his like announcement that he's running for president, and it was from a lower angle looking up at the person. And you see that I feel like I've seen that a lot in propaganda, like even in like monuments, like usually you're looking up at the figures and something like that might communicate.
That's what I was gonna say. If that they should check out other propaganda type imagery so they can understand what we're looking at. But I like that idea of like changing the perspective of the viewer, like looking up at the god is gonna is gonna make it really powerful. I like it. But I was gonna say I really like the hands, how they go like I like that. It's really cool. And I like how it balances out the skinnier bottom with the top. You can tell this person has a good eye for composition, but maybe we could like push them a little bit further.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Can I share my screen?
Yes.
I have set this up. No,
Yeah.
I think we already talked about it. Maybe it's not worth doing. I just oh wait,
What? There we go.
So we mentioned this earlier, and I did a little setup just to show. This is one of my students drawing, and this kid always asks really good questions, always trying really hard, like, what do I do to develop? How do I grow in this? And so I thought it was awesome what she's working on. But I think one thing that we discount is the value of working like this. We mentioned this earlier. When you put these things side by side, you can instantly how the scale is a little bit distorted. And again, it's all about like, do you want to work on proportion? And so you're using the figures in light and shade, and you're reducing that to focus more on proportion. Are you working on expression? Are you working on naturalism? But they diminish in size as they go back. And one thing I notice even in my work is so often I'll be looking at something and I'll say, okay, I'm going to draw this person's face, and this person's face right now has this angle that goes like this. And then I'll be like, okay, I know how to draw faces, and I'll immediately just say, okay, vertical, horizontal. And just that little shift throws everything off, because we go back to what we know. And you remove the tilt. And if you look at all of these, that tilt tends to disappear. Everything, even if the head is tilted, then there's no Z tilt forward and back, like the figure here, the second figure and the stack. So I think it's a great drawing, and I think it's great observation of proportions. But that simple little thing of putting things side by side and remembering that if the figure tilts, that X tilts as well. But you guys know that I would also say the most important shape right here is actually this one that nobody ever sees, but it's this giant connected shadow that runs all the way through here. And so I would draw that first because it's such an important shape.
I didn't know that you would have said that. I agree. Like that is an important shape. I don't know that I ever would have been like, let's knock that out first, like.
Well, I tend to encourage students to look for the biggest, most general stuff first.
Yeah.
And work their way from there.
Man,
Can
that
you screen share?
I can try.
I was looking at Marc Maggiore. I already messed it up. This French Western painter.
God, he's cool.
He did a story on Instagram of him working on his stuff, and he's pretty like traditional. He does a lot of like practice, like it's his job to paint. But on a story, he's blocking in his painting and like freehanding it, but he's working from a photo that has been like he's working on this huge painting, and the photo has been blown up to the same size as the painting. and that kind of threw me for a loop. I was like, really, man? I figured you would have, like, I don't know, just had like a normal size photo and then knocked that out. And it was just interesting to see, like, even someone at that level is still like not taking, what do I say, like, not I don't know.
It's more of a how do I, like, working from two-dimensional to two-dimensional is more like translating, where it's like one-to-one, and working from a smaller reference to a larger scale, or working, you know, like, that's more of like a paraphrase or something. Like, you're having to take an extra mental step to say, okay, that Spanish word becomes this in English, but then this English word actually communicates the Spanish idea better, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
that's like when I tell students to, when they're in their upper levels and they know how to do things already, then it's okay to use stuff like a light box and use all the tools at your disposal at that point once you know how to do it the opposite way, because all these artists do. There's no reason that we need to make them suffer harder or spend longer on an artwork, as long as we're sure that they know the skill set to, you know, look at negative space or come up with a grid. Then yeah, use that light table to get your layout done. Experiment with some different ideas. That's how you push your art. Speaking of that, can I input on this real quick?
Go,
if I was in this artist's head, I would have a real hard time drawing, I'm going to assume that's little brother, to scale, because it feels so wrong to draw his head so much bigger than everyone else's. But I want you to look at a couple little spots. One is in between the peace sign fingers right here, in between the webbing of his fingers. Look how much space you have in your drawing, and then look how much space you have in the photograph. So you can see that really his head is bigger, filling that up, or his hand is smaller. But I think we can say head is bigger if we look at, just if you were to imagine folding your piece of paper in half like this way, okay, where the top of his head would be on the drawing versus where it is in your photo reference. It comes up much higher, right? Yep. And then his chin is really only about, you know, a wee bit from the bottom. So his head is higher, his chin is a little bit longer, his hand is a little bit bigger. Just pay attention to, it's all about putting together the puzzle, but all the little negative spaces can help you put those together. The space between his finger and the edge of the paper, the space in between the webbing there, top of his head, bottom of his chin. It feels wrong, right? Because his head's so big, but it's not. Trust your reference photo.
Yeah.
You're really close. It's a great drawing. It's going to be super cool when it's done.
Props for the finger placement in his nose. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Like it, look.
Yeah, I have to tell students all the time, like, or we used to talk about it with left brain, right brain, of like, don't think about it as little Johnny or whatever. Like, draw the shapes and the forms.
Draw what you see, not what you know.
And telling them, I like to have them start with the negative space,
Mm-hmm.
and then do that. But it's funny, like, I just miss teaching so much. Looking at these, like, seeing all the things that kids would do. Like, I would tell them to do the negative space thing, and then what Jay was talking about, where the head's tilted and then you draw it normal. Like, people would do the negative space blocking just fine, and his head's already tilted, but then they would, like, shift the face to vertical, and they'd be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, this, you know, like, you were almost there. You almost had it. And, oh, we miss you guys.
I think the part that is worth saying to students is that I still do it. Like, you should be encouraged that it's never automatic. You really have to force your head into that space, and be, like, disciplined and fierce with it, because if you get cocky, you start going and you're like, man, I did it too. I mess it up, and I do it all the time.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so this is all with Prisma, which I thought was a watercolor, just by the way that the color was gathering down here at the bottom. But she just continuously turned in the dopest of dope work.
How did she make it so smooth?
Because she's incredible.
It's Prisma?
She might have the solvent. Does she have the solvent?
I'm not sure. She did. I'll send you guys what she wrote about it.
That's super good.
Yeah, she's an art one too, so she's gonna go far.
Oh my gosh!
I really just wanted to show off her art because she's doing so good.
Is this one of the people that were in your rotation before quarantine?
Yeah.
So I never got to work with her.
Yeah, Clinton, you never had her.
Yeah, she started with me.
That's so
She's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
I love what's going on with this eyeball right here. That's so
I
neat.
really like, and this is one of those things where I try to talk to kids all the time about responding to their work, and I'm not great at it, but if I were to catch her doing this, I'd be like, you should stop. You should not do anything more to this. There's something really cool about the way it is right now. But that's
Yeah, my teacher instinct was to go, hey, you should probably be like layering colors all over rather than working from one edge to the other, because that has a tendency of, you know, it looks like she has a little bit. If you look at the white edge of her face, she's got some going on already. So maybe it'd be different in person. But you're right. I think if you stop and like really take the teacher of these are the right steps, she's got such a cool thing going on here. She's the kid I'd be afraid to over mess with. I kind of want to just like let her fly.
Way to successfully eliminate the grid also. Like, that is, you know, you can see it on the right, and then on the left, we don't see it anymore. I'd have to, like, I might be able to see it now, but I don't know, like, that's really cool.
I would say, though, that is one of the things that just ruins the ride for me. If I see it from a distance, I'm like, that's really, really good. And I get up and I see grid lines running underneath this beautiful rendering. So that is good if you can get the grid out of your finished stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on to this piece, kid. We want to see it next year.
And there's like a cool, I don't know if my mind's playing tricks with me, light blue line around the edge.
Yeah, I see that.
That is like, it makes total sense to me why it's there. But
this kid is one I know we're going to talk about a lot, but on her thing, she said that her focus, she like tends to go towards realism. So she's actually wanting to look at cartoons a little bit more as a way to like stretch her brain. Which if you've got a process in your head, follow it, girl. But like you're kicking some butt, stick with it.
Yep.
See what you're doing.
I mean, if we're all going to do two pieces, there's another one I'd like to talk about. Is that...
I mean, we're already past short, so we might as well keep going.
This is another digital...
like you guys, sorry. Yeah.
This is another digital media student. So...
Is it?
Yeah.
Didn't I upload this one? No.
If you did, you went into my classroom and grabbed it.
So weird.
This is one of my digital media kids, but she works all the time. She's awesome. She went to state for like a Prismacolor piece. So
someone text me who it is right now. This is a great piece. When I saw, maybe I just like wanted it to be one of my kids. So when I saw it on here, I was like, I am to blame for this greatness, but I'm not. I'll take no credit, I guess.
You have your phone on you?
Yeah. Remember I showed you my cool phone?
I like the muted tones in it, and it's just not over exaggerated. It's really muted down, and I enjoy the simplicity of the tones. It's almost like a sepia, and so the reds, and then there's like maybe like a blue or a coolish tone around the eyes. Holy cow, so good.
Jay just texted me that it was your mom that did that. You got me. That was a good one.
The red hair, red hair is really hard to do and not make it look cartoony.
Yeah.
Carrot Top-ish?
Huh? Carrot Toppy? Yeah.
But I think
Lauren Carrot Top was a stand-up comedian.
Like when you were a topper.
I like it. So many students want to use every color in the box. They want to throw up the rainbow on every, highly pigmented image. And it's something to be said. This seems more like mature to tone it down a bit.
Mm-hmm. You can also tell that they did not have fear with putting in values. I mean, that's a pretty harsh value contrast between the shadow on her face and the white of her cheek right there, that highlight there. And it's like, you can see if you can do it without fear, it is beautiful to look at. It makes
no fear.
Yeah. Kids, if you see yours on the screen and we didn't get a chance to talk about it today, that means like that. Don't think about that too hard. We just started trying to kill some time, and I'll write you guys notes. If I put your piece on here and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, I'll write you notes back. But they're on here for a reason. We wanted to show you off.
Because I love you.
I do.
Okay.
All right.
We good?
Let's
Have a good summer. Be safe. Keep working on art. We love you.
Bye, guys. Have a great summer.
Bye.
Go forth this summer and make dope arts.